Israeli airstrikes on Nasser Hospital in southern Gaza have killed at least 20 people, including 5 Palestinian journalists. According to eyewitnesses, Israel carried out a double-tap strike on the hospital. A drone initially hit the hospital's roof, killing one journalist setting up a live stream. Then another strike hit journalists and rescue workers who were responding to the initial strike. During a live broadcast, Al-Qad TV filmed the second strike on the hospital.
Just now, the civil service is lost. Oh God, they've killed these people.
The journalists killed in the Israeli airstrike have been identified as Hossam al-Masri, a photojournalist with the Reuters news agency, Mohammed Salama, a photojournalist with Al Jazeera, Mariam Abu Daka, a freelancer who worked with the Associated Press, Moaz Abu Taha, a journalist with NBC, and Ahmed Abu Aziz. On Saturday, another journalist was killed in Gaza, Mohammed al-Madoun, who worked at Palestine TV. At least 244 journalists and media workers have now been killed in Gaza over the past 23 months. Today's attack on Nasser Hospital came a day after Israeli forces killed at least 64 Palestinians, mostly in the north, as Israel moves to take over Gaza City and forcibly remove the city's entire population of about 1 million people. Officials in Gaza say Israel's recently destroyed more than 1,000 buildings in the Zaytun and Sabra neighborhoods of Gaza City. Meanwhile, health officials in Gaza say 11 more Palestinians, including 2 children, have died from malnutrition over the past 24 hours. At least 300 Palestinians have starved to death. On Friday, the UN formally declared famine in the Gaza Strip. For more, we go to Muhammad Shehada, writer and analyst from Gaza. He's chief communications at Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights Monitor. Mohammed, welcome back to Democracy Now! Under incredibly painful circumstances. What do you understand happened, with eyewitnesses talking about a double-tack strike on Nasser Hospital that killed at least 5 journalists, 20 people about altogether, with a focus on the 4th floor? The Reuters journalist was setting up a live stream on the roof when it happened.
Well, basically, it started with a journalist at Nasser Hospital called Hatem Omar, who located and spotted an Israeli surveillance quadcopter drone. He took a picture, uploaded it an hour before the strike, and said there is a quadcopter drone that is surveilling meticulously the area, so take cover, watch out. Israel knew exactly who was there. They bombed the 4th floor with a precision strike, because that is the area where journalists would go to catch a signal for their eSIM cards, because Israel collapsed Gaza's telecommunication infrastructure, so journalists rely on an electronic SIM card that catches a signal from Israeli telecom towers. So that's why they have to go to high up places, high-rise buildings. Once they bombed it the first time, they waited patiently until more journalists and rescue workers rushed to the scene. And once they saw them, they bombed them again exactly at the moment that they were crowding to basically document the atrocities that unfolded there. So it's a precision double-tap strike that Israel unleashed to kill journalists specifically in the area where they knew that they would be standing every single day to upload documentation of the genocide.
Can you talk about Israel's response? They said they're investigating.
That's the exact same response that they gave about Yasser Murtaja in 2018 when they murdered him with a sniper shot directly, despite wearing a press-marked vest. First, they said he was Hamas. Then they said it was an accident. Then, when all of their lies were debunked repeatedly, they said, we will investigate. And we never heard anything about it again for the next 7 years until this moment. Investigate is Israel's way of buying time. I have Israeli contacts in Israeli civil society, like Breaking the Silence and B'Tselem, that said that Israel previously was unwilling to investigate itself. At this stage, it is incapable of investigating itself because the military is overfilled with religious Zionist extremists. It's basically the Israeli military that's carrying out the genocide in Gaza is overstaffed with the most extreme Israeli settlers, particularly from the hilltop youth. And you wouldn't expect those people to investigate their atrocities, let alone the people that were there before them. Israel's investigations are basically the same sham that is there to buy time. That's why B'Tselem decided many years ago to stop collaborating with any Israeli state investigation, because they said these are theater plays, performances that is there to just whitewash Israeli atrocities on the ground. So it's completely meaningless.
Can you tell us about the other journalists and their reporting? So you have Hassam al-Masri, the photojournalist from Reuters news agency, who was setting up a live stream on the roof. And then there's Mariam Abu Daqqa. She's with AP, a freelancer with AP, a mom. She was doing profiles, especially of children in Nasser Hospital.
So Mariam, she's a giant icon on her own. Basically, she's a journalist, a mother. She recently donated her kidney to save a life quietly. Her son is receiving medical treatment outside of Gaza. Ghaith, she is basically a very close friend of Razan al-Najjar, the paramedic that was killed again in a targeted sniper shot during the Great March of Return in 2018. And Mariam was covering these demonstrations. At one point, she was broadcasting live when a body arrived to the hospital. She looked behind, and it turned out to be her own brother that was killed by Israel while marching bare-chested against Israel's draconian blockade on Gaza, and collapsed in tears immediately. She lost another brother during the genocide. She's a neighbor of Muhammad Salama, the other journalist that was killed in their strike. And Muhammad recently got engaged, and he was preparing to get married. He's a young journalist from the same area, Abasan and Khan Yunis, a village that Israel wiped out completely. They left nothing in there, and they bragged about it on camera. They took thorough documentation that Abasan was turned into a howling wilderness, and showed it to Gazans to basically shock them. Even in Israeli prisons, Ben Gvir, the Israeli Minister of Security, he hung up a giant poster of Gaza being reduced to rubble for Palestinian hostages to see it every single day and realize that the genocide is going through. The other journalists, Mu'adh Taha and Hamza, both of them, none of the four journalists had anything to do with Hamas or militant activity. Nonetheless, you have Channel 14, an Israeli TV channel, that is now bragging and saying, yes, we bombed the Nasser Hospital twice. Yes, we killed those journalists. And yes, those journalists are terrorists. And that's the end of the story. So in English, Israel is saying one thing. They're saying it's a mistake. In Hebrew, they're bragging about it. They're delighting in the killing of those journalists. Right now, Israel has killed 244 journalists, by far surpassing all 20 years of the war in Vietnam, or all 6 years of the Second World War. And you remember, Amy, in Vietnam, there were pictures like the napalm girl that turned public opinion around. There was the picture from Lebanon in 1982 of a girl with both of her arms wrapped in bandages that made President Reagan call the Israeli prime minister and say, this is a Holocaust, you need to stop now. But when it comes to Gaza, you don't see that tipping point at all. No matter what Israel does, there is no tipping point for the international community that's empowering Israel's genocide.
And let's remember that well over 200 Palestinian journalists and media workers have been killed. You said 244, Mohammed. The Israeli prime minister, the military, does not allow in international journalists. Muhammad Shehada, I want to thank you very much for being with us, writer and analyst from Gaza, chief of communications at Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights Monitor. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.